what is the exercise you use to create a comedy routine?
Generally, I like to think about opposites and the age-old adage of how opposites attract. In comedy, there is a quintessential rule, which is ordinary people in extraordinary situations, or extraordinary people in ordinary situations. So if you marry opposites and you give opposites a reason to interact with each other, it makes for a very interesting storyline. It makes for very interesting character work. So orange and blue are opposites in the color spectrum. So how do we get orange and blue to meet each other, and how do we get them to interact with each other and make it gray?
And how would you render a protagonist in a comedy routine?
A protagonist is an interesting protagonist to me is someone who is conflicted, someone who is not, because I believe that none of us are all good or all bad. So a protagonist, someone that you're rooting for, cannot be all good in order for that person to be interesting. They've got to have a past. They've got to have something conflicting inside them, and that conflict within them raises the stakes. Something that they've lost, something that they want to regain, something that they regret. Regret is an amazing tool to make a protagonist interesting.
And
I have lots of regrets. I'm quintessential protagonist.
And what would be a model antagonist?
Model antagonist, again, follows along that same rule. Someone who is conflicted about their the agitation that they're causing to the protagonist or to the story arc in general. Someone who is, again, not all good, not all bad. So if someone is the antagonist and say they're the bad guy, there's probably a lot of good in them, or a lot of reasons why the audience would identify with that antagonist, even though that antagonist is creating drama in the story. Of course, one of the greatest examples of a sympathetic antagonist is Darth Vader. Toward the end, you realize that Darth Vader was a tormented and conflicted soul, and is really someone that we don't hate. In fact, we love him.
What are the various ways a conflict can be resolved in a comedy routine?
People have to be transformed. Your protagonist, your antagonist, the characters in your story have to all be transformed by the experience. Generally, hopefully, in an enlightened or a good way. Again, using the story of Darth Vader, even though in the end of the story he met with his demise, he was transformed by the experience. One could say that death is the ultimate transformation. But also, before his death, he met his son. He connected with his son that he had not known since his son's birth. So through all, and that probably would not have happened if it weren't for all the inner conflict that Darth Vader had to suffer and work through. So if there's inner conflict with all the characters, and they are transformed by the resolutions of these conflicts, you have great conflict resolution.
Well, that's interesting, considering I was asking a question about comedy and you used Darth Vader as an example. But
That's funny. That's funny. Darth Vader was funny. There's nothing not funny about Darth Vader. You saying that Darth Vader's not funny?
Thank you very much.